Uh, a very warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the second ODR, second CIADR webinar series of our sixth webinar series for the discussion of dealing with emotions in dispute resolution. I am Baisal Mahmood Honorable. I am a barrister at law of the Honorable Society of Lincoln's Inn. I'm also an accredited civil and commercial mediator for the ADR ODR International UK. I'm the associate counsel for CIADR and the general secretary of YCIADR. Before going into the event, it is pertinent to give a brief introduction of CIADR. CIADR is the Center for International Alternative Dispute Resolution. It is the first and only online dispute resolution center in Bangladesh that provides very natural, reliable, and cost-effective dispute resolution services in Bangladesh since 2018. CIADR is now renowned for its very cost-effective, fast-rating dispute resolution and very experienced independent arbitrators and mediators in South Asia. The CIADR and the new branding identity, ODR institution, it envisions signals their persistent passion to spearhead a new era of ODR development and expansion, both for the CIADR and the global ODR ecosystem. CIADR aspired to be the uninterrupted provider of premium institutional aid as a tangible and independent venue for conduction of domestic and international dispute resolution. Today, she is an MCIRB. She's a lawyer for the Supreme Court of India. She is an IMI certified mediator, arbitrator, and trainer. She's a director for the Indian Institute of Arbitration and Mediation. She's an arbitrator in the Thailand Arbitration Center and an ambassador for the Brazilian International Mediation and Arbitration Center. She's a legal professional with an experience over 16 years in handling a range of criminal, matrimonial, civil, commercial, banking, and finance matters cases inside the court as advocate and outside the court as mediator. She has undergone training in mediation and cross-culture mediation from Pepperdine University, Strauss Institute of Dispute Resolution, United States of America. She has also undergone advanced mediation training from Harvard Law School, USA. She has attended training in negotiation skills from ADR ODR International Dubai and program on negotiation from Harvard Law School. She is a certified international business negotiator and accredited mediator from IIAM India. She is a mediator listed on the panel of Delhi High Court Mediation Center Samadhan as an arbitrator with the Delhi International Arbitration Center. Delhi High Court as a mediator and arbitrator with the Indian International Institute of Arbitrator and Mediation. She's a trainer in IIAM. She's a member of CIARB UK, member of many international organizations, including the Young Singapore International Arbitration Center, Chartered Institute of Arbitration, United Kingdom. She's also the co-author of the book Definition of Mediation, published by BLT, and has compiled a book Landmark Judgments on Mediation and Arbitration. She has functioned as a judge in V's East Mediation Moot Competition and the ICC Moot Competition in Hong Kong and in various countries. Before handing over the floor to our distinguished guest today, I'd like to give a brief introduction to the topic for this webinar of ours, which is dealing with emotion in dispute resolution. Before handing over the floor, I'd like to start with one of my favorite quotation of Dale Carnegie, which I have used in one of my first publications on mediation, which is that when dealing with people, we have to remember that we are not dealing with creators of logic. We are dealing with creators of emotions, creators bristling with prejudice and motivated by pride and vanity. Therefore, inevitably, it appears that almost in all sorts of disputes and during their resolution, there exists a range of emotions and which is very crucial, pertinent, significant, and important to be dealt with. Before further ado, I'd like to hand over the floor to Ms. Ira Majid.
Thank you so much for warm welcome and for extensive introduction. So, as everybody knows that today's topic is on emotions, so I'm feeling very emotional while giving this webinar. And I extended my thanks to entire team of CIADR and for inviting me for this topic. As I told you that dealing with emotions, today's session is something which is very close to my heart, and this topic is one of my favorite topic. So whenever somebody asks me whether you are going to speak about this topic, I immediately, very promptly, I agreed to this because uh, I like to discuss about emotion. So as we know that emotion is part of life. And if we say that we don't have emotions and this person is not having emotions or so that is wrong. We cannot say this. Everybody do have emotions. Suppose we say today that what all the feelings you are having for corona. Some people are having good feelings, some may have bad, some may have anger. So it's a mixed type of feeling. So those are our emotions. And if suppose we take the corona for the children, for the kids, they're enjoying it like anything. For them, it's a different feeling. For elders, it's a different feeling. So that is how we have positive emotions and negative emotions. Both kind of emotions. And for harvesting positive emotions, we have to inculcate positive emotions. And once it's a principle for dealing with the emotions, you have to inculcate positive emotions, then you will be able to harvest positive emotions. And we should be very, very careful while dealing emotions in dispute resolutions. Because the party who are coming into the dispute, they are emotionally drenched for one reason or other reasons. And they believe that my emotions are stronger than other parties' emotions. And then there is a third person also, the mediator or the negotiator, whose emotion also matters. So we have to deal with all three people's emotions. We have to get synchronization of all the emotions, and then we can deal it beautifully. I would like to say that in many trainings for the mediation and for negotiation, we discuss about the process. We discuss about the content. We discuss about the reasons. But while dealing with the emotions, it is matter beyond reasons. And I suggest that in many trainings, we fail to focus on the emotions, how to deal with emotions. But that is the basis of all the disputes. We need to do that carefully, and we have to think that. So, today's topic is, as you see on the screen, that dealing with emotions. So, whenever we are dealing with emotions, either in the negotiation or in the mediation, we have two things there: substance and emotions. Substance is where you have to find out, you have set some goal and you have to reach to that goal. And how you will reach to that goal, that is what substance. But once you are reaching to that path, you have to go through some feelings, some sort of emotions that will be inevitable. You have to be deal with that, and parties must be having that, and it is the you have to use your skills to deal with the emotions. For the substance, it's very easy. There is a process, but for emotions, it's very difficult. And in the end, I will tell you that how difficult to negotiate on emotions. It is very easy to negotiate and mediate on substance, but when it comes for the emotions, it is really, really very difficult. Our dispute arises because of our perception and belief, and we don't want to forego those perceptions. And we are very, very sensitive about our feelings and our perceptions. today I am going to present this topic, and I have distributed this topic into two sections. One is external V and another is internal V. So by dealing with this internal and external V, we are going through that how people are dealing with persons outside perception and inside perception, and how to deal people consciously and subconsciously. Because it is parallelly you are doing with that. One side, you are going with the process, you are dealing with the people, and second, or the other side, you are dealing, going through inner subconscious of the person, and then you are coming up for the solution. So when we are talking about external V, so in the slide you can see that
Yes.
both V, they are broad apart. One side is position and one side is solution. So when parties come, they are on a position. They don't want to leave their position. And we have to move, as if you can see the arrow, how the arrows are moving. So we have to start from the external left. And from there, we have to move to the solution. So what we have to do in the external V, or you can say an external V is our conscious mind or the process. We can see easily, the parties can see easily that what is going on, this is the stages, these are the process, and then we have to reach to the solution. And we have to find out the underlying interest and all. So once we are dealing with the process of mediation, we have to go deeper down to the issues, and we have to identify the underlying interest. For that, this model is there. For external V, we have to connect with the parties and see where you can see the meaning. We have to come deep down here. Then we can connect with the people. And then after connecting with the people, we simplify the things, and then we find out the options, and then we can reach to the solution. This is what we generally focus in mediation, that these are the stages. That first the joint meeting, and in the joint meeting we started narrating the stories, and both parties started telling their stories. Then we phrase, rephrase, and summarize to that, and then we find out the underlying interest. After that, we break the session into focus and all. So these are the things which bring us together, and we go deeper down to that through external view. But there are something more than that once you are dealing with the emotions, because emotions always work subconsciously. Emotion never work consciously. Emotions, for that we have to match the emotions of other person, because for the emotions, everybody is very possessive for their emotions and very sensitive towards that, and they don't want to let go, and they don't want to understand others' position easily. So if you see in a simpler way, I can say that the external V is a verbal process which you can see, which you can feel, which you can see from your subconscious mind, and internal V is the completely non-verbal process, and both process has to go side by side. If you fail to demonstrate the external V to the parties, then their emotions, you may trigger the negative emotions. And suppose if you fail to deal with the internal V, which we will be discussing in detail, because all the internal V, we will come to know that how you will deal with the emotions. So once you fail to go deeper down, or you fail to understand or go parallelly with the internal V, then it is very, very difficult to resolve the dispute. So the process we need to create would have the goal for helping us close the emotional gap between the parties among themselves and with the mediator as well. Because I told you when I start this session that there are three sounds. One party, another is another party, and third sound is for the mediator itself.
Can you hear me? I think there is a little bit of a technical issue here.
Hello.
Ms. Iram, I think there is a little bit of a technical issue here. Please go on.
Hello, is that fine?
Yes, there is a little bit of a lag in between, but we can still hear you. Please go on.
Okay. So, so this is the gap. We have to fill this gap, and this is called the emotional gap between the parties among themselves, and this is the gap with the mediator itself. So we have to fill this gap. We have to fill the gap of two both extreme V's point, where the position and solution. And our approach to focus the mediation, helping people bridge the gap between their polarized positions, which is resultant by their emotional contradictions. So in this, we guide them to look below the surfaces from the different angles, identify their deepest concern without succumbing one's emotion in the room. And for that, we need to value each other's emotion. That is how we can do it through external V. And through external V, we help them examine their values, perception, feelings about the issues which divided them most. And once we are moving closer, and we can see that there is when we go deeper, then what we would aim to do with our emotions, developing an inner process that parallel fed the outer work we were doing with our parties. So we could connect or reconnect with them in the face of our strong reactions. That we can do with the external V. Now let's discuss, as we can see in the slides, that is internal V. So internal V is a kind of creating rapport to understand the emotions and to go deeper down, and more receptivity is there, openness is there, rather than reactivity. So here we can see that how the internal V works. So we will discuss this in detail to understand how to connect with the people for their emotions and to understand them. So the internal V, you can see again, it's very broad gap. And when we have to start from the left side, so we can see how the feelings, your emotions, they all are lying there, and then they connect, and then we have to express, and then we move on towards the solution. So openness, receptivity instead of reactivity, and we renewed our empathy in this with the parties in mediation, and that is what we sought in the internal V. And we believe that there is a vast collection of perceptions, concerns, emotions toward the parties. They have found so problematic. It is not only to deal with their emotions, but at the same time, we could find a new way of understanding themselves, ourselves as well. And then we would let us reconnect with compassion. And I must tell you one thing, that mediation is a way of life. It is the only way we can connect with the humans. And if we could understand how this internal V works, how to connect with the people, I tell you, it is very easy to do all these things in your life. See, I am teaching these emotions, how to deal with the emotions and all. And I am applying those things in my own life, in my personal life. And I am finding it really very easy to connect with the people and with the humanity. So emotions are very, very important, and more important is for your emotions to understand others' emotions as well. So for looking into this into detail, I must say that many people you will see, and you may say that in the mediation that, oh, he must be feeling very bad, so you can go and deal him directly. If, oh, he's crying, so must be very painful, he must be in pain or she must be in pain. So you go and talk him directly. This is one of my very important point. Then in emotions, we cannot deal it directly. We have to go through it with different phrases, different stages of emotions, then only we can able to deal with the emotions. If you're trying to deal with the emotions directly, there is a possibility that we can trigger the negative emotions as well. See, in my trainings, I keep on train on the emotions. So there is some kind of activities also which we are doing. So in those activities, when it is happening in the peer group, all the participants. So once I remember when the participants were doing that activity, after completing that activity, a few of them were crying. And they said, "What happened? Why you are crying?" Then they said that we do not know, but somehow our negative emotions triggered by our peer participants. But the other participant, when we asked them, said, "Do you know that you have triggered the negative emotions?" They says, "No, we have not." So sometimes even we fail to understand then when and how the negative emotions is going to be triggered. And unknowingly, being a mediator, being a negotiator, we touch those points which are taboo, which we should not and we do not. And if we touch those points, it will be very, very difficult to negotiate. So we have to be very, very careful while going through dealing with the emotions, very fragile. So now let's discuss about the internal we. In this section, I will discuss about how your body behaves and how a mediator or a negotiator has to identify different kind of emotions with body breath, facial indications, judgment, feelings, anger. We have to deal parties with empathy. We have to create connection. Then it leads to expression. So we'll discuss one by one that how to deal with the parties and dealing with emotions. So once we are discussing about the body breath, in body and breath or the facial indication, this is all talks about the body language. How a mediator, it is how important for a mediator to identify the non-verbal clues. Because when the parties enters, they give all the verbal and non-verbal clues. So what they are saying sometimes that doesn't mean that. But what they're not saying, we have to identify those feelings. So for the non-verbal clues, here the internal we comes. So our body gives signals. We need to identify those emotions. We need to identify them very, very minutely, observe them very minutely rather than ignoring. We need to keep an eye on the body language to understand those emotions. Party may not want to show their emotions in front of another party maybe or to the mediator unless they must be having a trust with the mediator. They may not open up. So for that, you have to be very careful and be vigilant and for their body language. They will give you a clue. So for understand their strong emotions and identify the feelings, you have to see. Sometimes you may look into the skin color. Once the party appears in front of each other, they are sitting, they started talking, the skin color started changing. Suppose the skin color become red, skin color is becoming, it's getting pale. So they all leads you to different indication. What their skin tone is, how the skin tone is changing. Is it shining or is it going to be dull? You have to see that. Those are the very basic things which a mediator should know. How even your lower lips is going to be the size of the lower lips. It is thinner or it's normal. Even those are the clues which you can identify that in what situation, what the mediators, what is the feeling of the parties for that. The breathing pattern, that is one of the most important things. The breathing pattern changes because it is said that once you are into any kind of emotions, so emotions are very fast. Your body started moving very fast. Blood circulation is moving very fast. So for that, suppose if you are very happy, you feel like to jump. Once you are angry, you feel like to shout. Why it is so? Because all emotions make your body pace very high. It makes you breathe very fast. So once your breathing pattern changes, that means there are different kind of emotions. And mediator has to identify the meaning of those breathing pattern. Even then, the pupil dilation. If your eye pupil is going to be contract and eye pupil is dilate, suppose if it is contract, that means the parties are coming into a very furious state. They are getting aggressive. They are getting angry. Dilation people mean they are relaxed. So there are different clues. Even if they are not talking to each other, even suppose in the opening statement, they are sitting in front of each other. You can identify that whether they are comfortable or not comfortable. That is where internal we is working. We are connecting toward that we. We are coming closer to the deeper down level. And unless you will not match emotions with the parties, they will not open with you. Because emotion matters. Even the pupil dilation I told you, or widening, and thereafter there is facial movements, the kind of faces you are making, the movement of the eyebrows, the blinking of the eyes, the muscle twitching, and the kind of physical gesture. Physical gesture you may relate with like the way they are sitting. Suppose they are sitting cross arms, or they are sitting and putting their hand under the table. That always matters. So we have to be very careful that what is the position of their hand, what is the position of their arms, what is the position of their legs. See, these days many times I come to know that people started faking the body language. Those who know a little bit about body language, so they fake it. So, but body language always works in cluster. Once it works in the cluster, so you can identify, you can see other clues also. Suppose the person is trying to relax themselves. This is the signal of that I am not comfortable and I am not open to you. If they don't want to show you that I am not comfortable and all, so they will be sitting with the open hand on the table and all. But you have to see the movement of the feet, the movement of the leg.
Ms. Majid, just 1 second. I actually have a range of questions. Would you prefer to have the questions at the end?
Yeah, in the end.
All right, no problem. I personally have a lot of amazing questions.
You see, this topic is very interesting, and yeah.
Please go.
So for all those things, see, a person can fake from eyes, a person can have a fake smile, a person can fake from the hands, but not all the cluster, like legs, feet, and all together. They cannot. So if a mediator is trained into body language, they can find out all those things. And now the real work starts. Once you find out that these are the problem with this person, either he is relaxed or not, then you have to come into building rapport. Building rapport is so important that I told you that unless they are not in the rapport, they will not open with you, because rapport bring parties with the trust with the mediator. So let's say that rapport building is something which is happening on the neurological path. It is not something which I agree with you. Suppose we are having lots of friends and we agree to any friend. It doesn't mean that we are having a rapport with that. And if suppose we are having a rapport with one person, it doesn't mean that we have to agree with them. So having an agreement with one person doesn't mean that you are in the rapport with that person. Rapport means that is something you're connecting on the neurological path. You're connecting on the subconscious with that person subconsciously. So for connecting a person subconsciously, you have to see all these body language traits, which I told you now. And after knowing that, you have to match and mirror with the parties. So how you have to create rapport? By matching and mirroring. So this is the techniques which, say if we will discuss about the body language, so all these things can come over there. So mirroring, matching and pacing is the thing which we started matching with the parties. Suppose the parties, some people speak very fast, like me, I speak very fast. So this is my pacing. So if somebody wants to match me or somebody wants to mirror me, so he has to take the same pacing of his speech, then only he can match with me. Or if somebody is he speaks or she speaks very slow, so I have to match with that. That is something which we can say, that match the tone, also match the voice, match the tone, and match the pace, and mirror with the parties. Once you started mirroring them, once you started pacing with them, once you started pacing not only in the speech but also the note of the tone, and also with the breathing patterns and all. So they will be complete into the, they, you both will come into the complete like connection. This is what we work for, the neurological connection. This is how it happens. So identify non-verbal clues, and I told you a list of things. Even in that, your tone is also counts. And then it is a building of rapport. Then thereafter, that second slide says, see, these are all the steps to identify the emotions, to sync with them, and guide along with the parties. So judgments and feelings. So with those body language, in the first step, I told you, we come with the judgments. The party themselves comes with a judgment with themselves. Suppose one party is behaving very abnormally, another party is behaving very abnormally. And if we know that these parties are behaving like that, we can understand their feelings because of their body language. So this is what the mediator has to do, how they have to move. See, there are the things when we have to unlock the feelings. This is the stage where we have to unlock the feelings. We have to examine them, intellectual honesty. Then we have to find out that why they are having such reactions, why this body is giving this kind of reactions, why he is giving this kind of clues. So we have to find out the reason of those reactions. Then we find out what are the feelings behind those reactions. And we have to find out the experience behind those feelings. So can you see the chain? That first we have to find out why they have a reactions. Then what are the feelings behind those reactions, and what are the experience behind those feelings. Emotions triggered somehow. So see, one thing is very important. We have to understand that once we are into the negotiation phase, and the parties are sitting next to the table, across the table. So it's not about the negotiation. It's more about your face. More about your face. It's not about the value, that what value you are going to get. It's more about the face. So once that face is, they are not being able to save the face, so they may come into fight and flight mode. So what is this fight and flight mode? We have to understand that very carefully. That there is amygdala, which is responsible for our emotions, dealing with the emotions. So once that amygdala, one person is triggered the negative emotions, immediately within the blink of a second, amygdala hijacked. And once the amygdala hijacked, and you are not been able to understand things reasonably, because that is the response, and everything controls from your amygdala. And if one person with your negative emotions, if they triggered your negative emotions, then it will be easily to be into a different mode completely, and the parties may come to the fight and flight mode. See, if I tell you more about the fight and flight mode, so this is all our nervous system works like this. That see, when we see something is coming towards us, like car or some dog, so I know that that car is not going to hit me. But if I feel that that car is coming next to me, my heartbeat starts moving fast. My blood circulation is also become very fast, and my breath is also become very fast. So that is how I can sense some pain. So the same thing is happening with our sympathetic nervous system, that trigger. And then when car will pass, or that dog, the furious dog, a big furious dog that is coming towards me, that will pass, then again my parasympathetic nervous system work. Parasympathetic nervous system means when the danger will go, my all those things which has been increasing, like my heartbeat, my breath, and my blood circulation, that will come to the normal. If the mediator fails to understand that when the parties are coming into this mode, fight and flight mode, when their amygdala is hijacked, the mediator or the negotiator fail to understand, then the party will go into the freezing mode. And then if you will allow them to understand each other's position or to talk each other, it is going to be a mess in a mediation. It will definitely go into a mess. So for the mediator, you have to identify when the parties are on their high emotions, when they are likely to fight, when they are likely to flight, when they are likely to freeze. Before they are going into all these modes, it is better to break the session either, or it is better to give them different environment. It should not be that thing, because once you will be in anger mode or flight and fight mode, if social engagement starts, you will not be able to discuss things nicely. But for that, you have to take a break. And then once parties are normal, then you have to understand and you have to make them back to the discussion. And that is how you unlock the feelings. So, but many times it happens that we don't understand that when the parties are into those modes, and we keep going and the discussion is keep going on, and the emotions which the parties are carrying, they are triggering negative to negative emotions, and then it's become piling up and there is a mess. See, I have been doing mediation for last 10 years in court and ex mediation and all, and I am witnessing that how emotions work when it comes to the adversarial conditions. And once you understand these emotions, that their parties are going into fight and flight mode, they understand their feelings, then what is the main function of the negotiator or the mediator, the role? See, they have to understand to the parties that these are the feelings that are not fact. See, we should understand that fact is like sun rises from the east. This is a fact. But fair is beautiful. This is a feeling. Sun rises from the east, it is a fact. So nobody can dispute about the fact. But what about your feeling? Those feelings are based on your perceptions. So we have to make them understand that feelings are not facts. And perspective is not reality. What is their perception? That is not reality. That is based on their past experiences. So many conditions are responsible for making our perception that we are not going to discuss, otherwise the topic will be too huge.
For the next one, perhaps, Ms. Majid.
Yeah.
For the next one.
Yeah. And we have to tell them that perception is biased, always biased. And due to those perceptions, we are having certain memories with us, and those memories may be wrong. That is why we are into dispute. We have to unlock those feelings, and we have to make clear to the parties all these things. After identifying the body language and this thing. And once you are in the rapport with the parties, it is very, very easy for you to make them understand all these feelings. So after this, let's come to the next slide. So once these two steps are complete, see, it is not step by step. See, you can take any step, in any hierarchy, but since I am telling you this, these are the best way to deal with. Okay. So we have to deal the parties with empathy. As everybody knows that these days we are talking about digital empathy. We are talking about so many kinds of empathy, and it is very, very important to deal with the parties with empathy. And empathy gives us a kind of curiousness, but that curiousness is not enough. Suppose the parties are coming and mediator is sitting. Yes, tell me, what is the issue? If you start this, curiosity, yes. Compassion, no. So you cannot deal a person without a compassion. Curiosity should be there, but it should be with compassion. So we should be curious with compassion. For that, we have to deal with empathy. So now if we discuss about the cognitive empathy. So the cognitive, I'm sharing this in an empathy triad. So because see, these are the things which is very important for dealing with that. The cognitive empathy is the ability to understand another's perspective. It is not that I am leaving my perspective. It is not like that. Without sacrificing my perception, without sacrificing my understanding for anything, I have to understand another person's perspective. What they are saying, just that. I should not be evaluated. Suppose somebody is telling me, see, I feel like to do that, or I feel like to go ahead like that. So what we do, that we also use our emotions in that, and we started evaluating that situation. Being a mediator, being a negotiator, you should get yourself away from the situation, and then you have to deal with the parties with empathy. So for that, you have to ability to understand another's perspective. That is something which is outgrowth of the self-awareness. You have to understand what they want to say. That's it. Only to that effect you have to give your understanding to that party, what they want to say. Secondly is the emotional empathy. So once we are coming to the emotional empathy, the ability to feel what someone is else feeling. This is what, if somebody is feeling pain, I can feel your pain. If somebody is in anger, I can feel your anger. If somebody is so sad and also, I can feel everything. This is what we call heart-to-heart emotions. So we can understand person's perspective, not only his perspective, but also understand the pain, also understand how they are feeling in this situation. And we can also understand with the person's emotions, with the party's emotions, that suppose if I would have been in the place of how would I have been feeling. But in this, I must say that my brain matches with your emotions. And for this, I have to be very careful while dealing with the emotional empathy, because there are so many echoes, and one echoes of my ego. I have to be very careful about my ego, that it should not be against the parties. It should match with the parties, because I have to feel their situation. I should not be biased or judgmental what I will be feeling in this situation. It happens many times with this gender biasness. Suppose the mediator is a female and parties are males, suppose, and the female is matrimonial dispute. So if the male is trying to say something against the female, and the female is the mediator, so she may feel something bad about it, and because I'm feeling emotionally, I'm feeling emotional empathy. So emotional empathy is something which I can understand your pain in your context, not what I'm feeling in my context. So that is something very important. And for that, it is very important that the person who is dealing with the parties, he is not deadening their emotions. Because once you are trying to control or protect your emotions by deadening them, then you will lose touch with empathy. And moreover, now we come to empathetic concern. So the empathetic concern is something, the ability to sense what another person's need from. See, this is something which is head to head. Because in this, we have the ability that what another person's need from you. It is not only that you can feel another person's perspective. It is not only that you feel another person's pain, but you can at the same time, you can understand that what they want from you. See, I'll discuss one case. Recently, I'm doing one case that is, these days it's an online mediation. So the husband and wife, they both they both know me, and they registered their dispute for divorce. They want a divorce. So they both discussed their case with me, and it's a joint session, it's a caucus, and it's happening again and again. And they says, okay, they keep on telling me their stories, and whenever I'm coming with the options, so they are not giving me options. They are not coming up to the this option generating option stage. So they keep on telling the stories. The last time it happens, and she's not going to my home, and all these things, whatever it is. So see, I understand that they are trying to make each other fear. They're trying to give a threat to each other that we will not be staying together. But actually, they don't want to stay away from each other. They don't want actually separation. That is why they are not coming up with a date themselves. I keep on asking, what would the next date should I do in this matter? When has to be fixed? Where is your documents? Why you are not giving me opposition papers? All these things. So with the process, they are going back. And with the content, by saying the things, blah, 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 they keep on calling and they keep on having a sessions. And they both are living in the same house also. That is the most beautiful thing is they both are living in the same house. So then I understood that they only want to give a threat to each other that, see, value my emotions, otherwise I will not be with you. That is what they want to show me. And they don't want divorce, they don't want any kind of separation. So finally they came and one day and they says that when I said, okay, this is the last time and today is the last date, now we will finalize everything. Then they both said, no, we don't want, we are happy with each other. So this is how, once you use the empathy into different level, then you come to know that what you have this ability to sense that what other persons need from you. Everybody will be showing you different kind of emotions, and you have to identify those emotions with their non-verbal clues, with their body language. Parties themselves give you clues. So now, after that, see, once you develop the body language rapport, you identify the body language, you identify that the parties are in the fight and flight mode, then you deal with them with the empathy. Now, this is the most important thing which you have to develop with them to have a successful relationship with the parties. And even with both the parties are negotiating with each other, then these are the things which are the 5 core concerns. Without dealing with that, you cannot deal with emotions. You will completely fail. Even there will be empathy. Even there will be understanding of the body language. Even you can understand their feelings. Even you understand their perceptions. But if you will not go through this connection stage, how to make connection, then everything will fail. And you will not be able to deal with the parties, with their emotions. See, for this, there are 5 core concerns through which it is very, very easy for mediator to develop the connections and to get along with the parties very, very easily and to understand and matches their emotions. So what is the first thing is appreciation. See, today when we are dealing with the emotions and we are dealing with the feelings, so it is not about what we remember positive. It's not about positive. It's always about negative. We never forget the negative things. We always remember the negative thing. If suppose some person has said something very negative to us, we never forget in our life. But positive things, yes, we remember because so many things are there. But negatives, we never forget. So whenever there are appreciation, it has to be in every sphere. Suppose, see, today many people they don't want to be in an organization, even if you offer very high amount to them, but they will not be there if they don't feel appreciated, if they don't feel that their feelings has been acknowledged, if they don't feel that whatever they are doing for the organization, that is going to be acknowledged. So you have to, being a mediator or being a negotiator and a dispute resolution, when parties are coming, you have to appreciate them, whatever they are saying, whatever. Sometimes you may feel, oh, what they are saying, and you make faces. If suppose the other party is also understand the body language, and they may understand very easily that you're not listening to them, you are not appreciating to them. And once they thought that you are not appreciating, so I told you that negative responses are very, very important in mediation and in emotions. Once the negative thing is triggered, then you cannot, whatever good you are, howsoever brilliant you are, a best mediator, but if you trigger the negative emotions, then you will never track that deal. So you have to appreciate, and for that you have to listen them carefully. You have to find the merit, and then you have to show it also. It doesn't know that, see, since suppose somebody is saying that, see, I keep on doing this work for my husband and all these things, then you will keep on thinking something else, that, oh, this is all useless things. No, you can't do that. You can't ignore this. You have to appreciate. You have to be there. You have to be present there soulfully, and you have to appreciate that. You have to listen that, and you have to find the merit into that and show it and express. See, all these things, finding merit, showing it to the parties, reflecting back, listening carefully, and expressing them that what they are saying, and we appreciate that, we are there. So they will feel heard. They will feel appreciated. Even if you have a dog in your house, and if you appreciate and pamper that dog, they will be active, they will be very active. And if suppose we are having any maid or any servant, and if we praise about them, we say good words to them, so they will be very efficient to the next time. So appreciation does miracle. So we have to appreciate the parties, whatever they are saying. They will be very relaxed after that, and they will be feeling, oh my God, we are having the best mediator in the world who can resolve our dispute. We are in the safe hand. Then affiliation. So affiliation is like looking ways to connect. Suppose you are sitting as a mediator, and the parties is also from the same school, from your schooling, or some groups, or whatever your affiliation, maybe from schools, language, culture, or anything. Maybe your brand, the brand you are wearing, maybe the watch, anything. So you have to look for the ways of connecting with the people. You have to find out those things, and you have to affiliate with that things. And once you are building the affiliation means you are working together, and you are going along together. So once you affiliate with the parties, it is very, very easy to go ahead with the parties. You can lead the parties then, because they feel that you are somebody from among us. They feel connecting on the, I told you that, a neurological level, that, oh, he's from the same school. So suppose if you will see if I am in Bangladesh and I see somebody Indian, oh, you are Indian, then I'll have a connection with them. And if I say, oh, you are also from the same university of my university, so there is more connection. So that is the way, from by using the affiliations, we are making or looking up the connection, and we are building those connections. So that is also a process of connection, making connections with the parties. So now, if you suppose, if you feel that the parties are there, and you're finding out the connection with those parties, so how they will feel, how they will be reacting with you. It's very easy for them to express their emotions in front of you. They will be very open with you. So next is autonomy. Autonomy is something which is very, very high concern, which is a great concern, which matters a lot. Because suppose the party feels that everything is being decided, even there is a main crucial issues between the lawyers and the parties, client and counsel. If sometimes if the client feels that the counsel is taking away the autonomy, then also it's a tussle, it's a war between them. It's very, very difficult to deal with that. And if the party feels that the entire autonomy is being taken by the mediator or the negotiator, then also it's going to create a fuss, and mess in entire mediation proceeding or in the negotiation proceeding. Suppose if you are a negotiator and another person is also a negotiator, I am telling you in that context, the both A and B are negotiating one thing, and you are taking entire autonomy of party B. So how party B will feel? Or suppose if the mediator take the autonomy of both the parties, unless there is a repo or unless otherwise agreed by the parties. Because I think in Bangladesh or India, we are having facilitative mediation, where the mediator is only to facilitate, not to evaluate. So if you take away the autonomy of the parties will feel, why I am here? There is no purpose for mine to be here. So they may feel completely emotionless, and you can trigger negative emotions. Then it is very, very difficult for them to deal. So for the autonomy, it always say ACBD, always consult before deciding. So whatever you're going to decide, whatever you are going to give a date, even if fixing a date, you have to consult before decide. So that is very, very important. If you feel, suppose, let's have an example, like suppose I'm keeping my all the papers and everything next to my pillow every day, and somebody is taking away all those things. It's because to clean the bed. So they have taken my autonomy. Without asking me, they have removed the papers. I may feel angry. Why you have removed all these things? Other person may say just because I want to clean. I don't want any cleanliness. Make it like that. But I want my papers back in the same original position. It just happened or not in our daily life. We don't want cleanliness. We want everything to be there wherever I put myself, because it's easy for me to find out. So that is my autonomy. Without asking me, another person has consult or decide on behalf of me. That you need not to do. You have to ask the parties before deciding anything. Now another thing is the status. Many people, they stress on status when they have to make a connection with the parties, because suppose there is a issue of the employer on the employee, or the laborer or the factory owner. So the factory owner is person, absolutely they are having great status or the high status. And the another person who is coming to the mediation with the labor class, they are not at the same status. So they may feel low. So being a mediator, you have to balance out of the status. If those status will not be balanced out, and one person will feel that I am on the lower status and this person is the higher status, that is why the mediator is listening to him more other than to listening me, then do you think that those people will be able to connect with you? Or will they be able to go along with you to resolving your dispute? Or will they be easily open up with their emotions? Or you will not be hurting your emotions by giving them high and low status. And sometimes, just because we fail to sync with their emotion, we fail to understand or synthesize their emotions, we do that unknowingly. So respect experiences. The person who is having a status, they must be having a experience. Respect experience, expertise, and acknowledge that. And the role. Every person who is in the mediation or the parties, they are having a separate role. They are having a different role. So for those roles, there are two types of roles. One is permanent role and another is temporary role. Once they are into dispute, that is the temporary role. So if the role is a temporary one, don't forget that they are having much brighter role, which is permanent. Suppose one is a teacher, one is a lawyer. So that is their permanent role. But once they are into dispute, that is their temporary role. One is permanent. So respect them for their permanent role. Suppose if there is a rickshaw puller who is pulling a rickshaw, Or suppose the one who is cleaning the this what you call this filthy things and all, huh? The garbage. So that is their role. And if suppose for that they are fulfilling the need of their family, and if you treat them according to their role, that will be very disturbing for them. So we have to make their role fulfilling when they are into the dispute. We should not judge them with the roles, what they are doing, and according to their status. So these all are the 5 core concerns, and we have to deal with them very compassionately, very politely, very gently with the parties. And once we understand all these things, we are able to connect with the parties in all these 5 core concerns. Then they will come up to the last stage, and that stage is the expression. Once they are completely with you, they are neurological connection with the internal why, then you can lead the parties. You mirror them, you match them, you pace them, you connect with them, and you can lead them. So when expression comes, you are leading them in their emotions. You can mold their emotions very, very easily. And this is where in the internal we, I told you that this is now we are at the deeper stage to going to the upper stage where the solution lies. Once they started giving you expression, that means you are leading in their emotions, and then there is, we called a best resolution. See, parties relate with us differently at this level. They express themselves completely. We all moved beyond cognitive understandings. Now, rather than locking the emotions, we are unlock the emotions. We unlock the feelings, and they are completely free to express themselves. And we are understanding, we are developing a different kind of understanding, and we have a resonance with the parties. So this is something which we can do, and I told you that this is the way of life. Mediation is a way of life. Dealing with the emotions, I must say that once you learn to deal with the emotions, you can win this world. See, everybody do have emotions. Everybody charged up with their emotions. It is us how to deal with them. We should learn it and we should know it. Not in only emotion, not only in mediation, in negotiation, in arbitration, in litigation. See, every sphere of life, we have to know that how to deal with the emotions. That is the main important thing, because we are dealing with humans. We are not dealing with machines. Once you are dealing with humans, you know how to deal with the emotions, because no man or woman can be without emotions. So I tell you that this is the way of life, and I adopted it in my life, that if I value the status of another person, I appreciate them, I affiliate with them, I understand the body language. The life is so beautiful. And we connect them better every day. And see, the disputes will go like this. See, I'll share one of my case. I was doing that matrimonial dispute. The boy was a Muslim, and he performed nikah, the non-Muslim girl. And they both were business partner also. And after some time, they had a baby boy. Hello? 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 Can you hear me? Okay. So once you, so they were both business partners as well. So after that, what happened? They had a baby boy after that wedlock. After some time, 3 of them converted into Hindu religion. I'm not getting it. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear
Okay.
you.
So they all 3 converted into Hindu religion. They filed an affidavit also, and they converted to it, and they started performing that. After some time, the boy, the male, who he fall in love with someone else, and he again converted into Islamic religion. And he said, no, no, I wanted to perform my own rites and rituals, and I want to convert into Islamic religion. And the male alone converted into Islamic religion. And the boy and the girl remain there. The child and the girl remain to be a Hindu. Then they want to have a divorce. And now there are lots of issues, and that dispute came before me in the mediation center. So parties were same. Dispute were also same, but that dispute has 2 angles. One is commercial and one is relationship. The commercial is where they want to negotiate on the business issues, like we want to have a business distribution. So they said, okay, 50-50. You will take 50%, I'll take 50% of this business, because we both have generated this business. But when it comes to emotions, it was really, really difficult. So that case, I understood that dealing with emotions is very difficult. Negotiating emotions is rather more difficult. And you can negotiate on anything, on commercial aspects, very easy. But when you have to negotiate with emotions, it's next to impossible. Unless you deal with all the internal.
Ms. Majid,
Yeah.
can we, if you kindly permit, after all these amazing stories and after all these experiences that you have shared, there are a number of questions and there are a number of
Yeah.
personal questions as well from me as well. Can we go into
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
If you
Yeah,
permit,
because
can we go into that
now the
part?
session is over.
Yeah.
There is a little summary if you want that I could finish it. Then we
Yeah,
can.
sure. Please, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely, please finish it.
yeah. So in our summary, we can say that we should use emotion positively. Emotions are based on feelings. Feelings are not fact. Every emotion is an outcome of a perception. Perception may be biased. Reason is important in dispute, and so are the matters beyond reasons. That is to dealing with the emotions. And stimulate helpful and positive emotions. That is what all about my presentation. Now it's open. It's up to you in your hand.
Right. Thank you so much. I actually have a range of questions. I actually have, a number of questions. May I kindly request the organizers to take the slides off from the screen and make the screen thumbnail for the both of us only? Kindly, the organizers, please. So, Ms. Majid, thank you so
Yeah.
very much. I think despite being an accredited mediator, I myself, it was a tremendously educational experience from everything that you have said. You could actually,
I've tried.
yeah, I thought, I think you probably understood that I was actually holding myself with all the questions and everything. So
Yeah.
I'd like to start off by saying that uh, with all these exorbitant amount of requirement in regards to the observation power of the mediator, do you think that the ones practicing in a jury trial system, for example, the Western system, something that we are not blessed with, the subcontinental system, do you think that someone who is more adept in the jury trial has an upper hand in terms of considering these perceptions or these perspective or observing the parties like that?
See, I don't think so, because it depends upon your education system, and it depends upon how you have been trained for. And suppose, and I must tell that training is not sufficient for this. For this, you need to practice, and it evolves. See, empathy and all the other things which you can evolve, which you can learn by practicing. Suppose if a person who is insensitive, if a person who is deadened by their own emotions, so it's very difficult for them. But yes, they must be having upper hand, because little bit. I should not say the upper hand, but they must be having a different level of understanding, because they may experience everyday different cases, and Trainings are same, but cases are different and teach you definitely more core and empathy.
There's a conventional understanding and in terms of the mediation trainings offered by various international organizations as well. There is a traditional emphasis on the textbook requirements and the textbook methods and everything, but unfortunately, they seem to lack this overwhelming requirement and overwhelming significance on consideration of emotion and everything else like that. So, do you think that as far as training the mediators are concerned, these educational components and these educational courses should contain a particular emphasis on the practical aspect and predominantly this particular thing, consideration of emotion?
Yeah, I see. If I remember correctly, that when I started with when I opened up with the session, I emphasis on the need of having this kind of module in the training itself, because see, we always feel that these kind of things we should deal in the advanced training, and that is why we miss out in the normal training, in the first training itself, the basic trainings. But I feel that it has to be there in the basic trainings, because without understanding the body language, you cannot win the things. You cannot be a skilled mediator. Just because dealing with the external we is not going to take you to the internal we, as I discussed. So being a mediator, it's very, very important. Parallelly worked for this external and internal V. Otherwise, it will come to it will be inverted and it will become A. And once it will become A, then both the parties will go way apart.
Next, yeah, absolutely. Next, what I actually wanted to ask you was that the cultural implication actually in terms of although international business practices contains a certain amount of solidarity or cohesion in terms of the international community is concerned, but when it comes to family law, as you have gracefully mentioned and amazingly described one of your personal cases as well, the cultural implication, the cultural issue in regards to a family dispute where mediation has been mandatory, be it in the United Kingdom or in the subcontinental system, do you think the cultural awareness is actually a very important part for a mediator as well to understand the emotional climate?
See, without knowing the culture, even not from the cross border, if we talk about, see, suppose if we talk about India, India is the country which is a diversified in the culture. Yeah, so we are having lots of culture, lots of languages, different body language of those cultures, and if we fail to cope up with those culture, then it is very difficult for us to understand. And see, everybody are very much attached with their culture. More than anything else, we are attached with our culture. So it is very, very important for us to understand to train into the cultural sensitivity. It should not be culture insensitive people or culture insensitive mediators. So that is how I told you that I also went for the cross cultural trainings from the Paper University, which says about different kind of cultures like high context or low context. Once we know that the parties are from the high context or the low context, then it is very, very easy to understand and to bring them in the same zone.
Right. We have always been taught, I mean, textbook, we have always been taught to recognize the emotion, to neutralize or to give floor to it. But I, with my a very limited range of experience compared to you, of course, have seen that often. I have seen that often those textbook methods that does not really work. So I thought, and I have been also advised that having an emergency plan of some sort when there is a overwhelming amount of emotion that actually cannot be contained, cannot be neutralized, or cannot be channeled in a proper way. Do you think that having an emergency plan of this sort is a good idea, or have you used it by yourself?
See, I feel first you have to be the same which you expect from others. You have to expect the same from yourself. So you have to be yourself emotionally concerned person and intellectual honest person. So if you will be able to understand your own emotions and you will be able to control your emotions, then it is very, very easy to deal all these things, then it will be very easy. So I feel that, yeah, and I told you recently that examples, and there are lots of examples every day when I'm doing the mediation. So I feel that I should not emotionally carried away. I put a glass wall in between the parties and myself. So I feel that it is very, very important for a mediator first, or even any dispute resolutor to control their own emotions and not overlap with anybody's emotions.
Fantastic. This is my next question. I'm sorry if I'm asking too many questions.
No, it's fine.
I thought, thank you. Thank you. I thought, considering the topic and your amazingly interesting real life experience based delivery so far, I mean, all these interactions and all these questions would certainly benefit our audience as well. So what I actually wanted to ask you is that we are traditionally orthodoxly by the books, we are suggested that to take a break or take a way out when situation is going out of hand. But in terms of the family mediation, you have been mentioning briefly, and you suppose that certainly there will be restrictions if the case is actually going on, or there is a without prejudice consideration. But generally, if I ask you based on your experience, that has there been occasion where actually letting go or allowing the party with sort of borderline appropriate behavior, allowing the parties to let go of their emotion, has that actually worked in getting the emotional blocks out?
Yeah. See, sometimes, see, mediator is also a human being, and they also have lots of emotions. And see, I can tell you, I can share one of my story where I was completely unable to control my emotions, and it was very, very difficult for me to understand their emotions because see, I was not empathetic. I was not being able to feel their pain exactly. I was evaluative, and I was completely not into their shoes. But I was implicating all those things that suppose if I would have been in that place, it should not be done. Ethically, it is wrong, and whatever it is, I started judging those things. And once I was into that situation, then I feel myself very bad about it, and then I left that case. I resigned from that.
I have to applaud you for such blatant and clear expression of this. I mean, certainly many people would not have been comfortable sharing this. This certainly shows your credibility when it comes to being a mediator, sharing an incident as such, just for the sake of education as well. So a massive amount of respect as well. Moving on to the next part. This part is actually about the role of the attorneys in the mediation. We have been talking about the role of the mediation and everything. Do you really this whole dealing with the emotion of the client, promoting emotional literacy among the parties? What role do you think the attorneys or the advocates, basically the lawyers of the respective parties, they play? Or how much options should we give them? For example, suggesting them to talk with their clients separately about their underlying feelings, or actually helping them with that prior to coming to the mediation, or taking a break for that. How do you think that is an important
factor? I'll take 1 more minute in this while discussing this, because what we are doing once we are giving trainings, we are only giving trainings for the mediators. So every day what we are doing, we are trained lots of mediators, and we are now having so many mediators in every country. But we fail to understand that mediation is not one party game. It's not one party program. It is a teamwork. And on the table, when we are setting a table for negotiation or the mediation, we need trained people. We don't need the people who are trained into the litigation, or who are not trained into the collaborative practice. So if the service is upon one mediator, we need at least 100 lawyers who should be trained into the mediation advocacy. So once there will be lawyers who are trained into this culture, who are trained into the mediation, so they will be trained into how they have to be sympathetic, or they have to be sensitive towards the emotion of their client, and not only for their client, but also at the same time for the other client as well, for the other lawyer as well, for the mediator as well. So they have to be very sensitive about that. and they will not acquire this knowledge unless they will be trained into this. See, very many people feels that mediation is very easy task and it could be done with two chair and with three chair and one table. But I must tell you that it is full of skills and it is very difficult on this earth to perform the mediation completely nicely without a complete team. And for that, you need a lawyer also who contribute towards this. And for this, we need to have a lawyer. We should be those who are trained into the advocacy skills, mediation advocacy skills.
Right. Thank you so much. Moving on to my next question, if I may.
Yeah.
So this will also be a question I will ask from your personal experience, which is, for example, you mentioned, again, thank you for mentioning about family mediation. And in regards to, unfortunately, we have seen that both in the subcontinental condition and in the Western condition, these things can get really emotional and there can be disturbing, objectively disturbing element into that. So how difficult has it been to actually draw that borderline of responsible letting out of emotion and inappropriate behaviors, blaming each others and everything? How difficult it has been to keep the line for you as a mediator in your vast experience?
See, that is that depend upon you that how you are building rapport with the parties. So as I told you in the opening statement, once the parties started trusting you and you are able to create a rapport with the parties, then you can lead them, then you can make them understand, and you can set the ground rules in once you start your mediation. So that is not an issue because for that we are having different stages and we are being trained into this only. So that is not an issue and that is not a problem, and that we can deal with very easily, and that is all up to you that how you have created the rapport with the parties.
Do you often think that during these questioning sessions, predominant questioning sessions, often within the mediators, there are new and unprecedented information that comes up, which has not been surfaced or which the parties perhaps did not even consider consulting with their advocates as well, or the adversarial court system precluded them from divulging that information? Do you often find that they are being more emotionally invested and more comfortable in talking to a mediator, certainly in comparison with an adversarial court system that they came from, or they probably headed?
No, that is the most advantage of the mediation. That is one of the most big advantage of mediation. Then you can freely talk to the mediator, and you know that the process is the confidential. The things what you are going to discuss here is not going to be go outside the room. Even the report doesn't say so. It is not. It is unlike the courtroom. It is unlike the what you call the court order. So everything will be confidential. The parties are more comfortable in this.
Right. Moving on to my few last questions. I understand we have time up to 5:30.
No, it's fine.
Thank you. Thank you. What I actually wanted to ask you next was that the textbook way of having individual sessions. Now, when emotions are running high and we are forced to have these individual sessions with the party, how important it is to actually ensure that the other party is not feeling left out and the other party is also not having any doubts as to the individual sessions, and the other party is quite aware as to the procedural importance and the equal importance and preferences through these individual sessions with both the parties by the mediators.
It's a very good question. See, because once you are dealing with the process, so in your opening statement, you have to clear the parties that, see, I will be with the caucus to one party and another party should not feel so. So initially, once you are setting the process, setting the ground rules, so you can mention these things. And another thing is you have to balance out clearly. See, in the court and its mediation, many things may happen, but in the private mediation, it is go by clock. So it is very good if you timetable the things. So there is a concept of timetabling the entire session, so that this will be the timetable and this time will be given to this party and this much time will be given to this party. And if you work according to the timetabling system, so nothing will go wrong.
Right. My next question is actually a bit dangerous, if you might permit. You have been associated with a number of other alternative dispute resolution methods as well. I actually wanted to ask you a comparative analysis, considering that we have been seeing the benefits of mediation in terms of cost, delay, and complexity, which were the predominant reasons for the ADR systems in the first place. So we have been seeing a lot in the favor of mediation in comparison with other alternative dispute resolution systems. Certainly in my position, I'm not being able to take names and not being able to give a direct comparison to it. But I'd like to ask you to give a comparative analysis as to the importance of emotions in mediation in comparison to the other ADR methods, because my limited understanding suggests that when it comes to mediation, the requirements is very high. In fact, more important, if I use an informal phrase, in fact, more important than playing poker, you're supposed to be observant and careful as to the facial expression and everything that's going on with the parties.
So for this answer, I must say the emotion matters. I'll keep my emotions intact for answering this.
Yeah, sorry, I actually warned you before that as well. Well, thank you so very much. We are actually quite close to the time that we had. I actually want to personally thank you for your amazingly informative and significantly interesting presentation and bearing me with all these questions of mine. I mean, as you said that this topic has been very interesting, and you, because of your sharing with your personal experience as well, I could not resist myself with all these questions, and these questions were actually not even pre-made. I actually had that while listening to you as well. So we are almost at the end. If you would like to say something at the end, addressing the audience, the CIADR, me, or Bangladesh in general.
See, in the end, I must say this, that with the emotions, we can connect not only within the border, but cross-border as well. Because of the emotions, we are together. It's because of the emotions attached with the mediation, with the ADR. See, Bangladesh and India, and we are doing this webinars together. So, but only thing which I want to say, that if we apply all these things into our life, then life will be more simple. And for the mediators, they have to be very, very sensitive toward dealing with the parties. Because when the parties come, they come with a sentiment. They come in a completely emotionally drenched out condition. So we have to deal with them very nicely. We have to deal with them with little bit sensitivity within empathy. And that no trainings will going to tell us at how to deal with them. Only it comes into the advanced level and all. But if suppose you are trained culturally into the emotions practices and into the emotional dealing, so use those emotional aspects into your, not only in the mediation, but in your everyday life. So see, I want to share one very small story that I share everywhere when I discuss about the emotions in mediation, or when I discuss about the mediation, because I am very passionate about mediation. And this is something which is very close to my heart, that there was a boy and father. The father loves his boy too much because the boy lost his mother when he was 2 years of age. Since then, the father used to brought up the child very nicely, very lovingly, and he never scolded him, never ever scolded him. So one day, the son has torn a map, world map, and the world map was very favorite of his father. The first time in the life, father slapped the boy. And the boy was surprised completely that why my father has slapped me. What wrong I have done? It's just a piece of paper I have torn. Why my father is slapping me? And the father said, see, I'm going to the office. Once I'll come back from the office, this map will be in the same way. And you have to place it in the same order. And he left. And once he came back, so he saw the map was in the same position, and it was in the same completely into the same order. So once he saw that, he asked his child that, do you know the geographical location? And said no. So do you know the geography? Said no. Have you seen the world map earlier? Said no. Then how could you arrange the things well? Then he said, Father, just turn around this. Behind this map, there are the pictures of the faces of people, different faces of people from the different countries, from the different nation, from the different culture, from the different colors. I just arrange those pictures and the world map become together. So this is what we have to do in the emotions. We have to see beyond the reasons and we have to see the faces behind those emotions. We have to arrange those emotions and then the world will be together intact. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That has to be one of the most intriguing and one of the most touchy conclusions that I've ever heard. I'd like to thank Ms. Iram Majid again for her magnificent presentation and the answers to my questions. I would like to thank CIADR for this fantastic webinar. To our audience across the globe, thank you very much for listening. I hope you had an interesting session. Please do keep an eye for our next events. Please be with us. Thank you very much for your time. This is your panel moderator, Barrister Faisal Mahmood Anabil, signing off for tonight. Thank you very much. You stay safe. Keep everyone safe. Keep everyone happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.